Simulcast live from Makaku Television Cable Channel 55, Studio B, and 88.5 FM Keaku Radio at Halfway to Hell Plaza in downtown Kahului on the beautiful island of Maui. It's time once more for Keaku Live. And now here's the man who makes it all possible, Shaggy!
The show you're watching live here on Channel 55 and, of course, listening on 88.5 Keaku. Tonight, we're going to have a show like we have never had before. As a matter of fact, tonight's show is so special, I had to go all the way back in the history books and get the original Reverend of the Church of Rock and Roll at the controls tonight. So, ladies and gentlemen, brace yourselves for that. Also, brace yourselves for a very interesting guest. If you were to do an interview with another Maui radio personality, that was the question never thrown to me. Never, actually, through my Facebook. Who would it be? And I thought, all of the people I know. This guy is very interesting. Runs a very interesting show. We'll get into all of that and, well, more things you need to know. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, put your collective hands together for our guest. It's Hamish Burgess.
Hello. How you doing?
You know, this is so funny because a lot of times when I have these interviews and guys are like, Shaggy, you know, you're interviewing another radio DJ. Isn't that a little weird? But we spend so much time talking about the music, talking about the artist, talking about all these different things. You never really talk about yourself on your show, do you?
No, not really. It's about the music, isn't it? Sharing the music and all that.
Oh, and what primarily, because some people might not be familiar with your show. First off, what's the name of it? Where can we hear it and at what time? It's
the Maui Celtic Radio Show. Right now we're broadcasting on bluesandrootsradio.com, and Maui time, it's Sunday mornings 10 till 12 noon, 10 a.m. till 12 noon.
10 a.m. till 12 noon, yeah. And, you know, some people watch us from around the world, so they need to know Hawaii Standard Time.
Times, yeah. So Hawaii time 10 till 12 ends up being Eastern Daylight 4 to 6 p.m.
And you're kind of a world-known guy. As a matter of fact, we would be remiss if we got too far in this show and we didn't say, hi, Jennifer.
Hi, Jennifer.
Yeah, you know, she's probably watching right now going, I hope they mention my name. But let's get into a little bit about you. First off, Hamish the man, where were you born?
Aberdeen, Scotland. But I grew up in the southwest of what is now England in Cornwall. Cornwall is a surfing area in the southwest of Britain. It's a county of England, but it's also a different race of people. It's a Celtic area. The Cornish just got awarded minority status as a different race of people in Britain.
With all
they've always been a different race of people, but they just got recognised as that.
Yeah. So can we say for Hawaiian people, there is hope? You know?
There you go.
That's been an ongoing thing, I think, for more than a century. Well, actually, a couple of centuries, hasn't it?
The Cornish people, they kind of got rolled over by the King of England. Gave the dukedom of Cornwall, the Duchy of Cornwall, to his firstborn son. Around about in the 1500s or something.
Yeah, so it's been a while.
It's been a while. It's been 500 odd years.
Ouch. And you said that's where you were coming from, that kind of an area. What kind of things did you see growing up that was a little like, wow, this is a unique world I'm in?
It's a beautiful place. I lived in a few places in England, and but home was definitely Cornwall. Cornwall is rugged headlands on the north coast, sheltered, beautiful bays, crystal clear water in the summer, surfing. A little bit chilly in the winter.
Just a little.
Lots of standing stone circles, castles, stone fishing harbours. King Arthur's Castle is 45 minutes from where my mum lives.
Oh, so did you ever get tempted to go see if you two could pull the sword from the stone? I mean, was that still a thing?
That one is a little bit of a myth, the old sword from the stone. But King Arthur's Castle is there, and he was definitely a historical character.
You know, and I'm going to say this because everybody in their head, when they hear the word Celtic, they think dragons and robes and Merlin and, you know, weird imagery. When we talk about your show, Maui Celtic, you're using Celtic to refer to what?
Music.
Music.
Yeah, and the people of the Celtic lands. Now, everybody would think that's predominantly Ireland and sometimes Scotland, but you've also got the Isle of Man in between. You've got Wales, Cornwall, Brittany in the northwest of France, and actually Galicia and the Asturias in the north of Spain. So there's all these different regions that are still thought of as Celtic.
Yeah, because for Americans, I mean, we have a very limited understanding of what life across the pond is like. When we think of the United Kingdom, we think it's all just one big region and everybody's pasty white with bad teeth. That's not the case, is it?
Not too far wrong.
That's sad, actually. I've just hit a stereotype that was accurate. First time on the show.
But the funny, it's the word Celtic, as far as music's concerned, a lot of people think of very ethereal, airy-fairy kind of music, and that is part of it. But your traditional Irish and Scottish musicians, your traditional Irish and Scottish musicians might refer to themselves as traditional Irish or traditional Scottish. Celtic is a useful term, especially in North America, to describe the kind of music that I'm playing on the radio.
Okay, and what elements make a song a Celt song?
Instrumentation mainly, flutes, whistles, pipes, whether they're Scottish or Irish. The bodhrán is the traditional Irish, Scottish
the
drum.
what?
The bodhrán, Bodhran. And it's a goatskin stretched over a frame drum. It's a little handheld.
Oh, you were not kidding about being rugged from Scotland. And, you know, we need a drum, kill a goat. But
guitars, bouzouki came in late, fiddles, of course, and accordions. So that kind of range of instruments. I'm sure I left something out. But
how many of those can you play?
I only play the Scottish bagpipes.
That's it.
Yeah.
So you're a piper by trade and by life, huh?
Kind of, yeah. It used to be a huge focus of mine, and I still play. I still play a gig quite regularly.
I mean, as far as hobbies go, that's a pretty impressive hobby to have.
It's a bit of a mad hobby. If somebody told you what was actually involved when you first picked them up, walk away.
Really? I mean, how bad is it? From my perspective, you blow,
the first couple of years are difficult. It's a lot of time in the first couple of years. Very temperamental instrument. It's, weather, subjective, altitude. Playing at sea level is not the same as playing up on the mountain. Temperamental instrument, and but once you get hooked, that's it. You're kind of hooked in there, and then you're on a lifelong mission to actually learn to play the thing after that.
When did your lifelong mission start with the pipes?
Actually, funnily enough, I started in Honolulu when I first got over there. So about 17 years ago.
You just I'm in America now. I'm in the farthest removed place. Yeah, No,
I was... there's a funny thing. When you're young, you don't normally care about your culture unless you're brought up in some kind of... like kids here being taught by kahunas, we get right into it. But unless you're immersed in the culture, I was into motorbikes and rock and roll and drinking and all the usual stuff.
I thought that was Scottish culture of the 80s, 70s. And,
yeah, that's about right.
Yeah, and, especially when Thatcher came around.
Let's not go there.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, I was down in Cornwall and somewhat ignoring my Scottish roots and more interested in surfing and stuff. But my travels with surfing, I immigrated to America and through the Caribbean, and then ended up in America. And I would, for some reason, gravitate to Scottish Highland Games on the mainland. So I was kind of hanging out those, and then there was one in Honolulu when I moved there, and I was there, and I just asked this lady piper sat down next to me one day. I said, "You teach that, do you?" She was, "Yep." So that started the whole thing right there.
Oh, good, because see, for a second there, I was thinking it was kind of like that whole Charlie Manson handing out drugs on the street corner thing. You were standing beside a piper, and it's like, "Hey, the first lesson's free," and you were hooked for life. Was it an addictive thing to pick up?
Yeah, in as much that you want to play your first tune. You're desperate to play your first tune, and there's a lot involved before you can play your first tune. I mean, you'll learn on a little practice chanter, and kind of a little bit like a flute or a recorder, and you learn everything on that before you put it on a bag and blowing and squeezing and still trying to play the tune and all these different motions going on, like driving a stick shift as opposed to an automatic, I guess. And so there's a good 6 months to a year before you're getting on a bag at all.
Wow.
Like you're on this practice unit, and then unless you're exceptionally talented, you might get on one before that, but you're desperate to get on the bagpipe instead of this practice thing and play your first tune, and you're looking at quite a while down the line before you get to that point.
Wow. What was it like when you first picked it up and were actually played a song? Did you just put it down and it's like, that's it, I rule, I'm done?
No, funnily enough, I was living in Oahu, but I was leaving and coming to Maui, and did. My original instructor over there was also leaving from Honolulu to go to Texas, and we had a month. The last lesson I was going to have, fly back to Honolulu, take a last lesson. We'd got me bagpipes. He was going to show me how to tie them in, which is a very old-fashioned thing. They clamp in now. So it was good to learn that skill to tie a bag onto the sticks. But he'd sent me off over here to practice, and I couldn't get a squeak out of these things. It was horrific, right? And he said, if you have any trouble, lean on a tree, right, on the bag side.
Really?
And that might help you out a little bit. So like every day I'd get a bit of a longer squeak, and I'd call him up and say, this is ridiculous, this is impossible. Nobody, the hundreds of thousands of guys that are playing around the world, how are they playing? Because this is insane. And he just keep at it. So I went back to Honolulu and he goes, okay, play me a scale. I said, I can't play a thing. I can't even get through the scale, it's so hard. And he changed the reed in the actual bagpipe chanter, and he goes, now play. And I was like, you're not going to get anything out. And he said, just play a scale. And he goes, now play a tune. And I kind of roughly played a tune, and I was just, what he'd done is he'd sent me away with a really hard reed, so that for the rest of my life, I would be okay with anything easier than that, which was a little bit mad. But it worked.
It's like teaching a kid to ride his bicycle by throwing him on a motorcycle full tilt and
Something
being
like that, yeah.
Wow. So, I mean...
It was based on... Yeah, and he knew he had a really limited amount of time with me, and I was going to be left on my own, so he was trying to get me going as far as he could get me, and I could play any of these medium or easy reeds easy after that.
I gotta say, like, if that's his attitude towards bagpipes, thank God you never picked up fencing or something, Oh,
I did do a bit of fencing in Honolulu, actually.
Really? I've never met a fencer.
That was fun. It was a lot of fun.
What I mean, because my whole illusion of it is I'm just going to whack them until they stop whacking me.
I was a little bit like that, and they thought my style was aggressive street fighting more than it was proper fencing. And it wasn't going to fly in any kind of competitions. I was never that good anyway, but yeah, they said it was more like this Italian street fighting from medieval times.
So can I ask a series of questions that are going to seem a little unrelated until we get to the end? Okay. So being a piper, is this what you would consider something that the ladies go for?
As in playing it, or the person playing it?
The person playing it. I mean, I got to imagine, this is a pretty badass instrument when you talk about using a tree to play it.
A lot of ladies play, you have to remember.
Yeah, well, there's some badass ladies.
Yeah. I would have to say what everybody goes for really is the person in the kilt more than the instrument. I think the kilt is the main attraction.
And you have one?
I have a few of them, yeah.
Well, a few dozen, I would imagine, huh?
Not that many, but...
Oh, okay. Well, hope springs eternal. I was trying to paint this image in women's viewers' heads of you walking around the house in a kilt all the time, but...
Nah, not really around the house, but I'm out and about. It's quite funny on the way home from a gig when I go shopping at Safeway wearing the full kilt gear, and then that turns a few heads.
Well, the reason I ask is because, with the kilt, the pipes and everything, did you learn fencing so that you could fight off the women in this new profession?
No.
Well, I tell you what, we've been waiting for just a little bit. I've got Joel at the controls right now, and I kind of want to set this up. This is a clip of your band. What's the name?
No, I'm not in the band.
Oh.
I work with the band. I'm their photographer, and I do all their album cover artwork.
Oh.
And the aforementioned lovely Jennifer is one of the management team.
Oh.
But this band is, in fact, coming to Maui pretty soon.
Oh, well, you know what? I tell you what. Let's get ready to play it real quick, and then, as a matter of fact, why don't you go ahead and hit play out there, Joel, and let's check this out. There is. You know, I am kind of afraid there that we're not having any audio coming out of our system. I'm sorry about that, Hamish. But this is well, what's the name of the band? First off, let's go into that.
The band's called the Irish Rovers, and they've been going for 50 years, these fellas.
50 years?
Yeah. There's only one other traditional Irish band going that long. So these guys are old school. They play everything from beautiful slow airs to ripping instrumentals to belting out traditional Irish songs, and they write a lot of their own material. And one of the top Irish bands in the world these days.
Okay, and I gotta ask, like, you know, we have these guys coming in here. I noticed you got a couple of magazines from them. Real quick, just as a fan of the Irish Rovers, what would you tell somebody else if you were trying to tell them about this music?
I would say the length of time these fellas have been going, they are so tight. To watch this band on stage, you're watching some of the top Irish musicians on the planet. And whether you're talking about instrumentals, like I said, or belting out a traditional Irish song, you're going to get such an entertaining night. There's a few stories involved. There's the odd joke comes out. It would be a great entertaining night of Irish music for you.
God, well, I'll tell you what, man. I mean, it definitely looks really interesting stuff. And like typically these concerts, I mean, these are like open jam session type of ordeals, aren't they?
These guys they do have a set concert program. I mean, but when they get flying, yeah, there's no stopping them with the music.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, man. We're gonna have to like seriously come back and try to fix this thing because I really want to hear some of the music on here. Let's talk a little bit more. They're coming in when?
October the 24th. They're coming back from a New Zealand tour, and they're going to be stopping in Maui, playing at the Maui Arts and Cultural Centre on Friday, October the 24th.
October the 24th.
And then over to Hilo at the Palace Theatre on the 25th.
And are you going to be like there shooting? Are you going to be there as a fan? Are you going to be on stage? Maybe
both.
Piping?
Nah, not piping. Maybe I'll introduce them. I don't know. But I'll definitely be shooting a few photographs of them, and definitely there as a fan as well. Like I love these guys, and they're also very supportive of all other Irish musicians in the fact that they underwrite my radio program.
Wow.
So it's not about them with the radio, it's about me playing other people's music.
So if we started a letter writing campaign today and said, please bring Hamish on stage and make him play the pipes because in a million years he never says that you'll do this, you think they would?
No, and I would not want to either. It's too high pressure for me. I'm quite happy playing my little gig at Fleetwood's on Front Street.
It's like that's the level I've attained, and that's it.
Big stage stuff would be frightening for me.
Oh man. Well, let's talk about just the culture around the music. Typically, what kind of person would you say that maybe out there, maybe has never experienced this kind of music before? What type of person would be the one that would be most likely to find themselves enjoying the Irish Rovers?
You know, anybody could get into this stuff. I've invited people to concerts that are total rock and roll heads, and they've come away from an Irish Rovers concert going, "Wow, that was really good." And their own audience, they had a big hit back in 1968 with kind of a kids' song called the Unicorn Song, and that was a worldwide hit for them, but not really indicative of their music. But that started a whole. They're on their third generation of fans now at these concerts. You get the grandparents, the kids that grew up with that song, and then their kids now as well.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about being a photographer at something like this. When you're looking through that lens, are you capturing, in your mind, the preservation of the Celtic culture or the expansion of a musical genre into an unsuspecting or new audience? Which one is the more focus?
That one, probably the second one. I'm mainly looking for publicity shots for them, for the band. I don't actually shoot for anybody else. I'm not a professional photographer as much as I do that for a living for other people.
I'm not a professional show host. You know, I mean, as long as we're throwing it out there.
Yeah.
You know?
So no, I'm just looking for good shots of the band that we can use maybe in their albums. Most of the recent albums I've done the photography for, and for magazine covers. I happen to have a couple of magazine covers.
Oh, really? Okay, we can check one out.
There's a magazine called Celtic Life. It's a worldwide magazine, but based in Eastern Canada. And that was actually a photograph I shot at Gettysburg train station in Pennsylvania. It just happened to have the look that I wanted. And we were actually on the way somewhere else, and I decided that this might look quite good. And we ended up shooting a few hundred pictures there, and it's definitely worked for the boys.
You know, the funny thing is you're like, not a professional photographer. Have you seen any picture I've ever taken? It doesn't look nearly that good. No, I mean, there's professional, and then there's, wow, that's a very nice photo. And you said it just happened.
The shoot just happened. I was actually going somewhere else to use an old building in Gettysburg, but that one caught my eye, and I liked the colours. It was faded green and yellow, orangey, like Irish colours. Mm-hmm. So I just thought, we'll give that a go, and then we abandoned the second shoot because this was better. Mm-hmm. But the pub magazine.
Is there a magazine for pubs?
Yeah.
Okay, first off, what is this headline? Cooking with the Kilted Chef.
That one, I guess, yeah. That's in Eastern Canada again, and they have a chef that wears a kilt.
You know, I'm just going to go out and say it is like I've taken some pretty interesting pictures. They've ended up some pretty interesting places. No picture have I ever taken ended up with the headline "Cooking with the Kilted Chef" on it. But where was this one taken?
That was taken in Halifax, Nova Scotia, which is a great music town. And that was in a pub called the Old Triangle that's owned by a friend of mine and the band. And just a cool looking pub that the boys could spread themselves across the bar at, and we took a few shots.
See, you know, this is how you can tell you got a real rootsy band. Real quick, hold up both album covers. Ready? You're gonna love this comparison. See, you have a band right now that looks equally good in front of a train station as well as they do in a place where people get drunk off their arse. Oh God! But if I may make a humble suggestion, when you take a picture and it ends up on the front of a magazine, you're a professional photographer.
I'll take that one. I'll take that compliment. Thank you.
I've taken a lot of pictures, and none of them have ever ended up in print anywhere other than Exhibit A, you know? So, I would say not only are those great photos, but I mean, that's a pretty good kudos. You're on a magazine about drinking, another one about Celtic life.
There you go. Yeah.
And this is all in Canada. Is there like a huge Celtic population in Canada or something?
They emigrated to Canada from Ireland in the late 50s, early 60s, late 50s, I think it was. And,
whatever for?
I think they were going to New Zealand, but one of them had asthma and they weren't allowed in, so they ended up in Canada. And
Note to future self: never hire an Irish navigator. Oh
No,
my God.
the tough regulations in I think it was New Zealand wasn't going to work for that, so they ended up changing their mind and going to Canada. But they just started singing in a pub. Two of them, George Miller met Jimmy Ferguson in '63, and they just filled in for somebody that wasn't on the stage that was supposed to be. And then they started singing as a duo, and then added their cousin and another friend, and off they went and formed a band. But they went over to Calgary, joined George Miller's brother, and then the band started trekking down into America, and they were playing the folk clubs in the 60s in San Francisco and in California. And they were making a good name for themselves on that folk scene, but then suddenly the Unicorn song broke out on the radio.
I like it. Suddenly, the Unicorn song broke out on the radio. What band in your life could you imagine? That's the defining moment, the Unicorn song. Do you know any of those? I've never heard the Unicorn song. How'd it go? No.
There were green alligators and long-necked geese, humpty-back camels and chimpanzees, cats, rats and elephants. As sure as you're born, the loveliest of all was the unicorn.
Wow. And this is a kid's song?
It was a kid's song. It's a folky kind of kid's song written by Shel Silverstein, who actually used to write for Playboy magazine.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. He wrote a lot of children's books, and then when you grow up, you're like, he's the same guy that wrote in all those dirty magazines I stole from my uncle. Yeah. Oh, God. Were you a fan of both lines of his work, by the way?
That would be a yes, probably.
Oh, my God. Well, let's, in just a bit, we're going to get to, we have to take a break here in about 3 or so minutes. And then after that, I want to kind of talk about, more things of your radio show and of course, some more stuff with the Irish Rovers. Real quick, though, I want to ask you, as a fan of Celtic music, and I mean, like you said earlier, it is a part of your culture and things like that. So there is some of that tie to it. But as a fan of Celtic music, what is it that keeps you coming back?
It seems more real than a lot of music that's out there. Now, I'm not going to limit that to traditional Celtic music. That would apply to all traditional music of most countries, I would have said.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot. The sound's real. Most of these guys can play better live than their recordings.
I thought you were about to say they play better live than they do dead. I was like, yes. Yes.
So you walk into a concert and you hear the same as or better than the recording. Whereas a lot of these modern bands, it's the total opposite way around. They can sound rubbish on stage, but their recordings sound pretty good,
Yeah, and that is a funny thing about modern music. We have got away from actual musicianship, but with Celtic music, you have to be on such a level before you even pursue it.
Right, and it's for pubs, it's for concert halls. It's supposed to be live. The recordings are a bonus.
Oh.
It's live music.
That's one of the funny things, is because now artists are always about, let me get this on record, let me put this as a 99-cent download, and let me get out there. The type of people that play Celtic music are like, download, grab the instrument, boys, let's go.
And most of them, a lot of these guys are going to spend their entire life playing that kind of music, and they're not going to. They might squeeze a career out of it if they're lucky, and but they're playing in pubs.
You say it like it's such a terrible
thing. I was going to continue. They're playing in pubs on their off time. So, they might be playing in concert halls for their stage career, and then on a Friday night they might be down the local jam session. We call it a session, not just a jam session. It's just, the word is just a session. And they'll be down there jamming with all the other guys.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're right at the time that we need to take a break, and we're going to talk some more jamming stuff when we come back. Especially, I kind of want to get into how in the heck did you get into radio? That's going to be a fun one. All right. For everybody else, all right, here's how it goes. In just a sec, we're going to pause, give you a little dose of what's happening out in the world with the radar, and another daily dose of how dumb is America. That's coming up. You're listening live on 88.5 FM and cable channel 55 Akaku. We will return shortly with my guest, Hamish Burgess, talking more about the Irish Rovers, Celtic music, and, dear God, everything in between. See you in a second.
Hi, I'm Sarah Rodriguez with On the Radar. Maui officials say 61-year-old man was bitten by a shark and was taken to a hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Officials say firefighters responded Wednesday to a youth center where they found the man outside. He told them he was swimming about 200 yards offshore when he was bitten on his left foot by a gray shark between 6 and 8 feet long. Officials say the man swam to shore and walked to the center. He had as many as 6 cuts on his foot. Responders provided first aid, and the man was taken to Maui Memorial Medical Center. If you have to use the loo at Chicago's Water Saver Faucet Company, you better do it in 6 minutes or fewer per day. A local union says the factory has installed swipe card systems on its bathrooms to time potty breaks, slapping employees with disciplinary measures if they exceed the allotted time. Hit 60 minutes or more over the last 10 working days, and you're in trouble. Teamsters Local 743 argues in a complaint filed with the National Labor Relations Board. The union says some 19 workers were unfairly disciplined in June alone. There have been meetings with workers and human resources where the workers had to explain what they were doing in the bathroom, a union rep says. Generally speaking, ordering pizza and having it delivered to somebody else isn't the most inspired of pranks, but you've got to factor in time and place. Witness 29-year-old Michael Harp of Kentucky, who got jailed on charges of shoplifting beer and public intoxication. When allowed to make a call on his cell phone, he dialed up Domino's and ordered 5 pizzas to the Corbin station in the name of his arresting officer, say police. When the pizza arrived, another officer shelled out $40, and it was only afterward that the cops realized they'd been pranked. And that's what's on the radar with Sarah Rodriguez.
Hey, it's Shaggy, back with another daily dose of good old American-made dumbness. Today, we tackle how a Playboy model managed to kill over 1,000 people. Now, America is fascinated by conspiracy. You could say our culture thrives on us thinking we know something that everyone else doesn't. That's why, despite 50 years, tons of scientists, specialists, ballistic experts, and a discovery program showing a guy making the exact same shot with the exact same results, a whopping 61% of Americans think that the JFK murder was a vast conspiracy. You see, even when Americans are shown proof of something, they refuse to believe it. That's why even though a Pew Research poll says that 65% of Americans believe that the wealth gap has increased massively between the rich and the poor, and over 60% think that the American economic system unfairly favors the wealthy, still, over 60% of Americans think the secret to getting rich is just through hard work and savings alone. It's not, by the way. All this leads us to how former Playboy model and living fembot Jenny McCarthy managed to kill 1,300 people, mostly children. You see, back in 1998, the Lancelot Medical Journal published a single piece on how there could possibly be a link between the MMR, or measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine, and autism, and was immediately found to be a fraud. Now, the article was retracted, an apology was written, and the doctor who wrote the piece had his medical license revoked forever. Now, Americans, instead of viewing this as the medical industry ousting a charlatan, took the absolute dumbest route possible. The retraction was seen as a cover-up, and all of a sudden we're in a full-blown big pharma is out to kill everyone conspiracy. Now, celebrity Jenny McCarthy obviously not a doctor or a scientist, reads this article and starts proclaiming how dangerous vaccines are to children everywhere. This led to a 2012 whooping cough epidemic. That's the worst that the U.S. has seen in 70 years. This is the same disease that killed people back in the Dust Bowl. Okay, there was also dramatic increases in measles, mumps, rubella, and more diseases that were all but extinct prior to this whole anti-vaccination movement of the earliest 21st century. In fact, there's a website that keeps track of all the kids that have died from the lack of vaccination after parents heeded the advice of a former playmate. That number, 1,393 children have died from diseases that were easily stopped if only their parents would have vaccinated, all because a woman who can take her clothes off without shame said so. I'm sure she looks nice. Look, if you're thinking that even this segment is a conspiracy put on by Big Pharma, the shadow government, Shredder, his ninja clan, Darth Vader, and possibly Dick Cheney, then you must be a dumb American. Join me next time as we explore the dumbness of the American education system. All right, we're back here, 88.5 and Channel 55. Now, for people that are listening to me on the radio, they don't know that that's a separate segment from the show. They just think that you sat here and rambled through me talking about Americans. But now that you're here in America, is there ever a time when you're just like, God, I'm going back to Scotland?
No. I was here on green cards for 12 years, and then I became an American citizen. And I wasn't, I just thought it's better than getting a green card, But I actually wanted to vote, believe it or not.
Really?
And locally and nationally. And so I got my citizenship. But it's actually kind of a buzz. There was a bunch of military boys from the outer Pacific Islands being fast-tracked through to be in the military. And they had a big cheering contingent with them, so it was kind of a huge buzz hanging out with these boys and becoming a citizen with them as well.
The funny thing is, for me, is I'm going, you came to this country to do the one thing that nobody in this country wants to do: vote. I mean, what inspired you to want to vote so bad?
Mainly local stuff. I just wanted to see. I live on West Maui, and I wanted to see a little bit more care taken of West Maui than seems to happen sometimes.
Oh, I mean, I live in upcountry where we've pretty much set up our own isolation chamber. What is life like on the west side that got you so riled up?
Through the tunnel. You almost need a passport to go through the tunnel there. You know that?
Wow, no. I know I hit my horn just to ward off bad spirits. Do you ever do that? I mean, I know that's kind of like a
lot of my friends do, but no, I've not really got into that one.
I mean, it's a little silly of a superstition, isn't it?
But there's a lot of superstitions. I mean, there's a lot that came with me from the old Celtic countries to where I am now, and I still hold a lot of our old superstitions.
Okay, what's the weirdest one in your mind?
I don't know about the weirdest one, but
you're insulting my superstitions. None of them are weird.
One of the most everyday common ones, like if you spill the salt, you have to pick up the salt and throw a bit of it over your shoulder.
Oh yeah, I've seen people like that, and I've never understood what it does for them, but I know for the person standing behind them, it sucks. Oh, God. So I wanted to say that during the commercial break, we were actually able to fix something, and it is the first time we've ever fixed something that quick.
Right on.
So, yeah. So I have Joel outside, and I kind of wanted to go ahead and... Joel, are you ready? Are you standing? See, this is progress when you have the Reverend Joel Agnew from the Church of Rock and Roll at the controls.
Yes.
And he was like one of your fill-in.
The legendary Joel Agnew.
Yeah, but he filled in for you while you were traveling.
Yeah, no, I travel a lot, and Joel himself and Daniel Vickers have both run the Maui Celtic show for me while I'm away to keep the music playing.
Okay, well, Joel, I want you to go ahead and roll the video. You're going to love this. Check this out.
She is handsome, she is pretty, she is the belle of Belfast City. She is called in the 1, 2, 3. Please, won't you tell me who is she? Well, there was Slugger O'Toole, who was wrong as a rule, but fight easy from Dover. But your man McCann from the banks of the Bann was the skipper on the Irish Rover. We're the boys of Belfast town, ranting, roaring, rumbling around. We're Irishmen of high renown. That's the boys of Belfast.
There was Murphy.
What is the biggest mix-up that you have ever seen?
Can I just make a couple of comments about this? This is really kind of fun music. I mean, if I'm thinking about stuff that you can just sit back and really tie one on to, I'm going for that.
It is fun. It's a lot of fun. Whether they're folk songs, drinking songs, love songs, it's a really fun concert.
Hey, can I ask, what's your favorite type of songs? See, it's a tough question to ask when you're on a radio show.
I'm quite happy. I'm quite partial to the old drinking songs, to be honest.
Man from Scotland, partial to drinking songs. Who would have thunk it? Which one would you say is your favorite, just this one's going to raise the roof drinking song?
Off their new album, and on stage, they're doing a ripping version of Whiskey in the Jar.
Ooh, now that's a party song there. And anytime, have you heard the song Whiskey in a Jar and be like, that's it, we're fighting? But that's actually kind of a British and Irish thing, not so much Scottish thing.
Not too far behind them.
Yeah. Would you say Scots make the world's best lovers?
Of course.
I like that. There was no delay whatsoever. Well, let's get into your love of music and your radio show. Typically, how long, because this isn't a music that you can just go out there in record stores and stuff and is easily available. Typically, how long does it take you to research just for one of your shows?
Depends if it's a themed show or not. I mean, my first the show last Sunday for bluesandrootsradio.com was a themed show about the Battle of Bannockburn. I just went to Bannockburn live in Scotland, in Stirling. It was a 700th anniversary of this turning point in Scottish history, and they recreated this battle, and they also had Celtic music on two different stages. And so I was doing a special about that. That one took me quite a long time to put together. I had a lot of interviews from some of the top musicians over there in Scotland, and editing that and putting it together with the right songs. That one took me quite a while. Sometimes I can just walk into the studio and play the latest batch of CDs that have come through the door and wing it.
Now, here's the fun question. When was the first time you ever wanted to say, you know what, I think I want to get a microphone, play some music, and do a radio show?
It actually came kind of by accident. I was with a good friend, John Grant. He was the pipe major of our pipe band, and we were marching up in the Markowal 4th of July parade, and we were behind the float for Monotto Radio, and we ended up talking to one of the fellas there, and he invited us down to do a Celtic music show. So me and my buddy went down, and we sat in on various people's shows, and then I joined Tony for a regular spot in there. Ended up taking over the show, or being given the show on my own.
Was it a lot like Braveheart when you took over the show? Was there a charge and war paint?
No, it was very mellow. It was, would you like to do the show on your own? Ooh, deer in the headlights right there. The first time I had to do something on my own on the
But, I know why I got into doing this, but, you guys marching in a parade, what inspires a man like you to walk away from a conversation where it's like, hey, you want to be on the radio? And you're going, sounds like a great idea.
I just wanted to share Celtic music. It is on most commercial radio stations, you're never going to hear Celtic music. There's no formatted Celtic stations anywhere. Like, they're normally on community radio, public radio, all kinds of non-profit stuff. It's a genre that doesn't get played much, and but it's great. Like you said, it's great fun music. So,
hey, are you kidding me? That music makes me want to get up and party.
I just wanted to share that music with people, and I've managed to do that for the last 8 years.
And just from the small little smattering that we've heard during our show, it is easy to tell that this is a multi-generational type of music. When you're out with the camera, all the shows and everything, are you tripping over kids this whole time that are equally into it like the grandparents?
Yeah, there's a lot of young folks, especially at these festivals I'm going to. There's a whole generation of young musicians that are just red hot in Scotland, Ireland, even the smaller areas like Cornwall and that. And you know, they're researching the music. I mean, some of them are taking degrees in Scottish or Irish music.
You can get a degree in Scottish and Irish music?
Yeah.
Wow. And here it is, a man that doesn't really play bagpipes until he moved to Honolulu. Didn't really get into radio until playing the bagpipes that he learned in Hawaii, put him in a Hawaiian parade. You're saying no big deal, huh?
I come into it a strange way around, I'll give you that. Yeah.
I like how modest you are. It was strange. No, it was the Twilight Zone how you ended up here. How long have you been doing the Maui Celtic radio show?
It's about 8 years now.
8 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
And,
I mean, you ever think that you're like the Casey Kasem of Celtic music?
Not quite yet, but that would be an interesting thought right there.
I mean, you know, everybody has their, dare I say, smooth radio voice, you know. What is, when you're in your microphone, what is it that you're trying to sound like? Because for me, I'm trying to sound like, please God, sound like somebody cooler than I actually am.
No, just get it out there, get the music out there, and have fun doing it. I mean, you know, when I've been with Joel and Daniel in the studio, you can have a really good crack, as we say, with cellular in the station. And, you know, live radio stuff goes wrong, and then all you have to do is blame it on the goblins.
If I could get away with that, do you know how many times I would have used that excuse?
I've blamed it on the goblins many times.
Oh, God. Okay, well, this is something I'm going to try to blame on the goblins. And he swears he's set up for this. But in a sec, we're going to play a movie that Jennifer sent me. And it's kind of about, well, it was written by a guy that was born on the day, well, the anniversary, I should say, of the Titanic sinking in Belfast. What can you tell us about this song, Titanic?
It's always been on his mind that George Miller was born on the anniversary of the sinking of the Titanic, and being from that area, he just one day decided to write kind of a tribute song about that. And it's also, you know, the name on the back of the Titanic said Liverpool, right? But it was actually built in Belfast by, you know, many of the families in Belfast, their folks worked on the Titanic. So it was a huge deal when that was being built there. And George just decided to celebrate that and write a song. And when it was released, when Jennifer released this video, it went a little bit viral, and folks in Belfast were interested, and they actually flew George over and had him sing it in a documentary about the Titanic as well.
Wow. That's a real kind of a long history the town of Belfast has, and for them to say, hey, you know what, you being a guy that just kind of picked up a pen one day and wrote a song, come on over and play, that's a huge honor.
Yeah, no, it was, yeah.
I mean, you know, I hate to say it, but that's like kind of like, you know, those grown man tear moments where you're just like, suck it up, princess, don't let them see you cry. Proud to be here, you know. And I mean, for us getting ready to check out the song, what would you say is the mood and the message of this song?
It's a little bit moody at the beginning, but then it kind of starts to roll along and chug along, and it's almost like the engines of the Titanic are pumping away at that moment, and you can hear the whole journey.
Okay. Well, you know what? At this time, I'm going to say if Joel, he's handy. Yeah, go ahead and click that take button out there. And let's check out this video.
He was born in Belfast City, 1912 it being the year. Irish pride was in the air, their hearts were full of cheer. The world stood in amazement, for they'd never seen before such a stately queen to rule the waves and sail from shore to shore. She was the grandest of them all, her lines were sleek and bold. She sparkled like the jewels bright, a wonder to behold. The gentry sailed away in style, fine wines did freely flow, while the second class and steerage were all quartered down below. Roll on, Titanic, roll, you're the pride of the White Star Line. Roll on, Titanic, roll, into the mists of time. Roll on, Titanic, roll, you're the pride of the White Star Line. Roll on, Titanic, roll, into the mists of time. Well, the captain said full speed ahead, we'll show the world her might. So keep the boiler stoked, me boys, we'll race her through the night. We'll own the fastest record for the crossing of the sea, and the RMS Titanic she'll go down in history. Roll on, Titanic, roll, you're the pride of the White Star Line. Roll on, Titanic, roll, into the mists of time. Roll on, Titanic, roll, you're the pride of the White Star Line. Roll on, Titanic, roll, into the mists of time. On the 14th night of April, when the ship was far from land, dreams were torn asunder as cruel fate brought down her hand. Titanic struck an iceberg and she slipped beneath the waves, and 1,517 souls went to their watery graves. Roll on, Titanic, roll, you're the pride of the White Star Line. Roll on, Titanic, roll, into the mists of time. Roll on, Titanic, roll, you're the pride of the White Star Line. Roll on, Titanic, roll, into the mists of time. And gone, and still we know her name. When a voyage bound for glory turned to tragedy and shame, it's a night to be remembered for man's own frailty, when the mighty ship Titanic sank to the bottom of the sea. Roll on, Titanic, roll, you're the pride of the White Star Line. Roll on, Titanic, roll, into the mists of time. Roll on, Titanic, roll, you're the pride of the White Star Line. Roll on, Titanic, roll, into the mists of time. Roll on, Titanic, roll, you're the pride of the White Star Line. Roll on, Titanic, roll, into the mists of time. Roll on, Titanic, roll, you're the pride of the White Star Line. Roll on, Titanic, roll, into the mists of time. Roll on, Titanic, roll, you're the pride of the White Star Line. Roll on, Titanic, roll, into the mists of time. Roll on, Titanic, roll, you're the pride of the White Star Line. Roll on, Titanic, roll, into the mists of time.
Gonna fade this out. There it is. A kind of excellent song Actually, I'm going to go on record and say it was really rather excellent. And right now, in the studio, holding up a big sign of his own, Hamish, what is this?
This is the, you asked kind of more about what I was doing for a living. What I actually do for a living is I do traditional Celtic artwork. And this is the latest thing I did. It was actually the cover to the Irish Rovers' 50th anniversary album. It's called 50 Years. And it's in the style of the Book of Kells, which is from about the 800s AD, ancient Celtic art. But this one tells the story of the band with 26 references to their career and 12 song titles in the little piece of artwork there.
Wow. There's how many? 26?
26 references to their career and 12 song titles in that piece of artwork.
Can just walk me through at least a couple of them here, because I mean, I've never seen Celtic artwork before.
Well, 5 years into their career, they had a hit with the Unicorn song.
Okay, so that's the Unicorn.
They had another hit with a song called The Orange and the Green. They had a hit there with Whiskey on a Sunday. There's a little cross there that represents that with a bit of amber colour. They had a lot of internet attention recently. 13 million hits on The Drunken Sailor on YouTube, and that's The Drunken Sailor right there. So there's all these song titles dotted around with the two brothers that were George is still the front man of the band, and his brother Will retired. And lots of little snippets in there. Too many we're going to run out of time if I go through the whole thing.
I tell you what, we definitely will. Well, I tell you, before we do get out of here, because we've got like 2.5 minutes left, let's go through, how do people find you, especially if they want to get like some Celtic artwork, because that stuff is neat.
Thank you. Artwork, I have a website, it's got a gallery page on it, and it's www.mauiceltic.com, MAUICELTIC.com.
Okay. And for people that want to check out the show.
And same website, if you go to the events page, it'll have all the details of the radio show, but the radio show is broadcast every Sunday on bluesandrootsradio.com on the internet. And possibly coming up soon, I'm hoping for another one in Glasgow, Scotland as well.
Good God, you are world famous, man.
Nah, not yet.
You know, I should go ahead and like change the lower third. That's the thing at the bottom of the screen. It should say Hamish Burgess, most interesting man in Maui.
No.
Well, I do have to say thank you for coming out to the show. And before we get out of here, I mean, is there anybody that you want to say hi to, goodbye to, anything?
Hi to lovely Jennifer up there in Vancouver.
Oh, yes, Vancouver, where
it's mum and brother over in Cornwall in the UK.
Wow. And you know what? We'll put this up on YouTube so that they can go back and watch it and just be like, oh, Hamish. Oh. Your parents ever just think like, oh, you let the family down?
No, my mum seems quite happy with me these days.
Yeah, that's good.
Might have been a time she thought that. But
I can imagine the phone call. Mom, I'm playing the pipes. Good on you, boy. You know? Oh God. And let's see. We've got the website. We've got the show. What about? Oh yeah, the Rovers. They're coming when?
They're coming October the 24th. It's a Friday night. They're playing at the Maui Arts and Cultural Centre. Following night, playing over in Hilo at the Palace Theatre. You can go to the MAC website, or I should get up on my website pretty quick on the events page. I haven't yet, but I will.
Well, you were wasting time doing the show.
The IrishRoversMusic.com is their website, and you can get tickets there as well.
And check out the album cover for the 50 years, because our very own Hamish did that. Most interesting man on Maui. Okay.
And of course, there's many Facebook pages, as we all seem to have these days.
Yeah, exactly.
The Celtic Art of Hamish Burgess, the Maui Celtic Radio Show, and the Irish Rovers have their own Facebook page.
Wow. Well, I got to say thank you for coming in. And if there's ever a chance, I might try to see if I can sneak you in here and have you do a Celtic show one day, and I'll just take the day off.
That sounds great.
All right. For everybody else, thanks for checking us out this week on Channel 55 and 88.5 FM. Join us next week when our guests will include people like